What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of The Paul James Show, our preview episode for Round 7, 2025. We are on the verge of playing against the Carlton Football Club this Sunday. Very excited and looking forward to that matchup. But we're going to go through a whole range of different topics tonight. We are going to finally put a bit of a bow on the Geelong and Hawthorn Easter Monday matchup. We're going to take a look at some games that have already played out. We're, of course, going to preview the Geelong and Carlton game, which is, as we speak, 2 days away. And we've got some teams, so we can go through that information. We've got some debutants, at least one. There's some really fascinating news that's come out about the Cats going into this matchup. And I'm keen to talk to all of you about it tonight. So please make sure you buckle in. It's going to be a pretty tight show tonight. I'm going to try and keep it close to the hour because I've got a few plates I'm spinning simultaneously at the moment. But I don't want to skip out on the content. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the Geelong and Hawthorn match first up. So let's quickly revisit that. We don't need to go through it in an enormous amount of detail. You've had a lot of me talking about this match already between my reaction video and then, of course, post-game live. But let's bask in it for a little bit longer, shall we? Because we, of course, love beating the Hawks. And we did just that. 12-14-86, beating the Hawks 11-13-79. 89,000 people, near enough to 89,000 people attended that game. It is a record between the two clubs for a non-finals match, which, of course, by extension means a PB for attendance when it comes to Easter Monday matchups as well. It's a fantastic thing. It's great to see. You love to see it. Setting aside the result, the spectacle itself was huge, and to have that many people screaming and shouting in the crowd over the course of the night was fantastic. So loved it, loved the result. And I mean, let's just hope if we see them again later in the year that we can do the same effort. From there, of course, some real highlights. And again, we're not going to spend a huge amount of detail on this. I have gone through the real full analysis of the game already. But Sean Manor being the hero throughout the game there, had a couple moments that were less than ideal for him, but his response continually was awesome. He was the hero in the fourth quarter, kicking the match-sealing goal with about 2 minutes to go. He kicked 3 goals, 1 for the day, and received the full 10 coaches' votes, which is awesome to see. I think for a lot of us Geelong supporters, really easy to see why he would have been the best player on the ground or very close to it. But when the opposition coach is recognizing that as well, it's a huge compliment to the individual. So fantastic effort from Sean Manor there. Bailey Smith reveled in his villain role over the course of the day. Didn't necessarily enter with that, but as soon as he smacked Jarman Impey in the side of the head with a ball and the crowd turned on him, which I think there's probably a conversation to be had pretty soon about those sorts of behaviours. We'll see how he goes this week because I'm sure Carlton and the Carlton fans will try and niggle and see what sort of reaction they can get. Something undisciplined from him, perhaps. There might be a conversation coming if this sort of consistent flipping off of the crowd and antagonistic behavior continues. There might be some conversations to be had there in the future. Connor Nash was sent directly to the tribunal in the end after being slapped with a 3+ week suspension from the MRO. That ended up becoming 4 games, which I think at the end of the day is the fair amount. If anyone caught my scratching post video that I put together for patrons, that's exactly what I'd kind of, speculated and kind of hoped it would be. That's how it landed. But Brian Myers is in the concussion protocol program for 12 days. That means he misses this Carlton game. And I'm still a little bit unclear as to whether that knocks him out of the Saturday game then against the Pies the following week. 12 days on the dot. So is it out on the 12th day? When does the 12 days begin? Does it begin the day that you concussed or the next day? It's a little bit vague around that, and that will make potentially all the difference in terms of his ability to play. So, I guess working on the assumption, of course, that he's in good health afterwards. Up to that point, Ben notes he'd played 76 consecutive games without missing one. That is, of course, now about to change. Thank you to all of those popping in the chat so far. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Renee. Thank you both for jumping into the show at this early stage. If you haven't already, please don't hesitate to use the comment section. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you're across all of the Hoops Crew content, from the Paul James Show with its preview and review episodes to post-game live, the reaction videos, the Chaps Chat Cats, all the awesome content we're putting out there. Use that like, share, and subscribe button. It would be awesome in terms of growing things further. with the recap out of the way, let's get to the show proper. We are going to go through our round 7 teams and preview the Geelong and Carlton matchup. We're going to go around the grounds and look at some of the other games that have been played and one that will be kind of live or thereabouts as we go live tonight. Of course, we've got 2 Anzac Day matchups. The of course iconic Collingwood and Essendon one, but also Adelaide and Fremantle will be playing tonight, and that game is due to begin in the next 20 minutes. So, welcome to the show, Warwick. Awesome to have you, mate. Hopefully you enjoy what you see tonight, and feel free, of course, to pop any thoughts in the comment section over the course of the night. It's awesome to have you. And everyone else who's watching live but has remained silent in the chat so far, looking forward to hearing your input as the show continues as well. So like I said, we'll go around the grounds with the other games that have been played, and we'll wrap up with some Q&A. We've got a little bit of trivia that we're weaving into it this week as well. And of course, I'll wedge game of the week in there as well. A really fascinating one that I did not expect to be talking about this specific week. PlayStation delivered, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's move on to some team selection here as I move away from the match center from the game the other day, and we'll bring up our Geelong and Carlton game. Come on, AFL site. Behave for me here. All right. We will add that to the stage. Here we go. Team selection is in, and there have been a few changes. Now, of course, we knew that Brian Myers was going to be out going into concussion protocols, but what has also emerged is Mitch Nevitt is out with a foot injury. Ted Closey has been omitted, and coming in, O'Shea Mullen from his sore hip from the week before that kept him out as a late change. Ollie Wiltshire coming in for his debut. And Jai Clark returns, having displayed some excellent form through the VFL in the last few weeks. He's back in a big way. That means that the teams you would have seen that were announced the other day have changed a little bit. Mitch Duncan has remained an emergency. But of course, George Stevens and Ted Closey now fill those remaining emergency roles. And we've got to work out within the bench there who is going to be the sub. But it's a pretty strong Geelong lineup. And I am seeing Jackie there's just highlighted the excitement there for Ollie. I think that's a huge win. He's obviously been displaying some excellent form through the VFL. I don't know why there's one of these on my desk. Get out of here, you disgusting creature. Just insects getting in here. It's a shed at the end of the day. It's a pretty strong Geelong lineup. I'm pretty impressed with what we're bringing to the table here. Ollie Wiltshire being a fantastic replacement for Graham Myers, who's coming out. Will he be able to hold on to that spot when Graham returns in either a week or 2 from now? That remains to be seen. But I am stoked that he is getting that gig. Slobbo, nice to hear from you, mate. If you're going to talk trash, get out of here. Don't waste your time. I'm seeing Ruski here saying that thank God Nevitt's out. I can't back you up on this one. I'm very, very much in the camp of Mitch Nevitt being a huge asset to Geelong going forward. And he won some really important contests in the middle of the ground during the Geelong and Hawthorn one. Didn't necessarily clear it, but half the battle is stopping the opposition from doing it. I think he did that quite well when it really counted in the last quarter of the Easter Monday match. I know there's some other areas of his game that he still needs to work on. He's young and that'll come. For the Blues, an important change is that Harry Mackay, having been KO'd in his last match, he returns. Lewis Young makes way for him. But I guess, as we start to kind of inch towards the actual preview part of the game, it's a really... I think it's a really strong Geelong lineup that we've got here, and I think we are still looking at a Carlton team that hasn't really clicked all season. There's been a lot of commentary around the 4 wins out of the last 15 games, and the fact that those 4 wins have been against the same 2 opponents twice. Slobbo, don't waste your breath here, mate. We're not going to indulge kind of stupid commentary here. If you can do a live show and not make clumsy mistakes, please get back to me. I'm well aware you are right. Stop wasting our time, please. In terms of the bench, so we've obviously spoken about it. We've got Mark O'Connor, O'Shea Mullen, Ollie Wiltshire, Ollie Henry, and Jai Clark. Who becomes the sub in that particular scenario will be an interesting one. My main hope and priority here really is that it is not Ollie Wiltshire. I really can't stand. This applies to any team, whether it's Geelong, Carlton, any other player in the competition. If you've got a debutant can we not make them the sub? They might come on, they get 5 minutes, maybe depending on the occasion, depending on the game. Maybe they don't even get that opportunity at all. That's a really deflating thing for the player, but also I think all their family and friends who come out en masse for these particular matchups. So yeah, fingers crossed that it's not Ollie Wiltshire. Beyond that, I could see, and I know there's been a lot of questions asked and concerns raised about Ollie Henry lately. I don't think it'll be him. I'm feeling like it'll be one of Mullen, Clark, or potentially Wiltshire. Clark is probably the one that I think they'll choose, but we'll see what happens in that regard. Making half our bench Irish. From there, the big question that Ben has asked, and of course it's fair enough that he asks it, the late change. Will there be one? I think we've executed a late change for 5 out of 6 weeks so far this season. And I don't expect that to necessarily continue for this one, actually. I think halfway through that statement, I was going to say, yeah, there'll be a change, but I don't know. It's a gut feel. There's nothing more than a gut feel behind this. I think this might be one of those weeks where we remain Geelong strong, and our 23 stays exactly as is currently listed. But I'm trying to think if there's anyone who has, we've kind of seen limping around and struggling a bit, and no one necessarily springs to mind. I did notice, and I don't think it's going to result in a change because he actually played very, very well, especially in the second half of the match. Tyson Stengel at one point, and this was before the game. This was kind of leading into the Geelong and Hawthorn game when they came out for their warm-up. He followed the team out late, and I assume he was just maybe the last one getting a bit of treatment from medical staff beforehand. But he ran out and he didn't seem overly convincing. Now, he turned it on during game time, but I'm wondering how much he might be labouring behind the scenes and whether there's potentially the need for a week off just to rest. Maybe it ends up being Tyson Stengel's week, which then I guess when Ollie Wiltshire comes in, you've still got Ollie Henry on the bench, gives us a bit of that balance still. We're not too small forward heavy. Maybe that's, if I was to speculate at all, I'm wondering if that's maybe an option or a possibility, but we'll see. And in the event that he comes out, well, then, of course, that then opens up the door for a Mitch Duncan, a George Stevens, or a Ted Closey. Ben has been putting together some little graphics over the course of today. Of course, we've already got the Ollie Wiltshire one guaranteed to happen. He's making his debut. It's fantastic to see. But he has also, perhaps excitedly, put together one for George Stevens as well, who may get the opportunity to make his debut as well. Hopefully, we are talking about that sometime soon. But we'll see in that regard. Let's bring back the team sheet here. The thing that I guess as we continue to move through the team sheet and what we know here, we've got Brody Kemp, who's going to be playing his 50th game for Carlton. Congratulations to Brody. Obviously, it might be a small milestone in the grand scheme of things, but every milestone counts. Very few players even make it to 50 games, let alone anything beyond that. So it's an enormous achievement. Congratulations to him, despite how small the number might be. When we typically discuss these things. When it comes to absentees, this is the one that really does surprise me a little bit. I think most of us, I've certainly seen it in the comments when we did post-game live the other day, I feel like most people thought Collar might be back for this week, but that is not to be. I don't know if he's going to be playing in the VFL. I believe the VFL teams have been published. I'll see if I can find that detail really quickly. VFL team selection round 5, 2 hours ago. Collar is making his return through the VFL. This week. So that's, I guess, a great step forward. I'm surprised he's not just coming straight in through the first, but that is what it is. Jay Cole-Jesney will line up for his first game in 2025 alongside Ted Close. He returns after being a late inclusion for the Easter Monday match against Hawthorn. But the other exciting news from the VFL is that a couple of our new faces are also getting to play their first game in the hoops. Xavier Visick and Kyton Matafai-Forbes are going to be debuting for the Cats VFL team this weekend. That is awesome. Amy clarifies when it comes to Cole-Jesney that he didn't come up last week because he had some soreness. And of course, you want to play it safe in those regards. Old Cheezel Crust here just highlights that bring Polksy, so Jay Polkinghorn in now. He's our future. I see him being better than Hawkins. That is an enormous call in terms of the better than Hawkins thing. But when it comes to does he or does he not get picked, he's kicking the door down. He's been doing a really great job in the VFL from minimal disposals. I feel like I'm seeing him kind of averaging between 7 to 10 disposals a game. Nothing extreme, but he's making those count. And we've heard about how he's a bit of a sharpshooter. He's got very sticky hands. When the ball gets near him, he clunks it, and he's peppering away at the goals and doing a great job at the moment. So opportunities are going to come if he can continue to do that. I hope that he can also have a debut card just like Ollie Wiltshire does at the moment. So we'll see how that comes along. But awesome for Xavier Visick and Kyton Matafai-Forbes, who are getting to play their first game for the Hoops this weekend in the VFL. In terms of injuries and... Get out of here, graphic. There we go. In terms of injuries and suspensions, well, we don't have any suspensions to contend with at the moment, but we do have a lot of TBCs on our injuries list, and I am not at all happy with what the club has been doing in this respect. It was a big topic of conversation last year with these enormous windows. What do we call them? Short-term, medium-term, long-term. We weren't being very clear at all. Well, now I'd argue we're being worse. As a club, we are worse with what we're doing with the injury. And I'm going to quickly bring up the Health Hub now and project that one, because I think it's kind of, we're taking the piss a little bit at the moment with what we're doing. And let me get that one on the screen as we speak. There we go. Look at this. I think that's wrong. And actually, I jumped in to the chat of the Blue Abroad team the other day when they were doing the biased footy show. And like Terry, he's amazing. Love chatting to Terry. I know they were trying to get me to come on for a preview, for part of the preview. Didn't really align with my kids and bedtimes and all those sort of things, so I had to miss that one out. But they're a wonderful group of guys, and hopefully get to find an opportunity to collaborate with them sometime soon, even if it's post game this week. But they were quite clear, and I kind of agreed that very few clubs could get away with this kind of behavior with our listing. There is no reason. Now, Tanner Bruin is obviously one of those ones where we're being a little bit vague, and we all kind of know the reasons why. But the rest of them, I don't think this is at all acceptable to be saying management to be confirmed. I think that's rubbish. There's a little bit of a comment there that he's recovering well from pelvic-related groin soreness. Sorry, I've just picked Mitch Edwards at random here. It's great that we get that little bit of context, but I just don't think this is acceptable. Anyway, as you can see here, O'Shea Mullen has been listed, so he'll be off that list. Jack Henry's still listed as 1 to 3 weeks with his hammy. Jed Bewes' fingers continuing to come along nicely. 1 to 3 weeks. Sorry, Renee. If you want to hear me talking about Tanner Bruin, you might need to, if you're not already a patron of the Hoops Crew, you'll need to go check out that one. It's not something we're discussing publicly for reasons that if you're not across it, will be clear once you check out that video. So if you want to even take on the 7-day free trial of Patreon, our Patreon channel, the details will be in the show notes, in the description below. Check the Patreon out. Find the scratching post video that I put together about Tanner Bruin. And you'll hear me kind of, I guess, talk about why we're being very cagey when it comes to talking about him. Apologies for not saying more now. Feel free to utilize that 7-day free trial if you're not a patron already. If you like it, we'd love for you to stick around, but don't hesitate to use the 7-day free trial and check out the stuff there. And I encourage anyone who's watching, who's got questions about Tanner Bruin or just wants to see what we do on the Patreon side, there is a 7-day free trial that you can utilize. See if it's for you. It only costs $5 or $6 a month. Beyond that, if you want to continue to support and check out all of that Patreon exclusive content. But anyway, this wasn't designed to be a plug for that. So sorry. Hopefully, Renee, that'll give you some answers. Again, trying to be vague. There's legalities involved. It's great to going back to Jed Bewes. Great to see that he's now down to 1 to 3 weeks. Graham Myers concussion. I don't understand why we have to put to be confirmed there. Why do we it's a concussion? We know that you could now. Of course, there's the variable that maybe he doesn't recover like a typical player would, but not a typical player. Like a typical concussion recovery time is, which is you miss one game, you come back. They could put 1 to 2 weeks. They could do that, and people would be happy. It's annoying. Mitch Edwards, we've obviously highlighted there. Jack Martin, been listed as management. Toby Conway, to be confirmed. We can see he's making good progress in his reconditioning block. We'll integrate more football-based drills. Like, I appreciate the detail, the little bit of context that they're putting in there, but I can't stand that we're not putting an estimated return. Continue to wear a splint. Yeah, okay, sure. Jacob Mollier, sustained a hamstring. Like that, yeah. Anyway, I've rambled about that enough. What I am going to do, because what I really appreciated was when I was watching Terry and the team talking about it the other day, I believe it's carltonfc.com.au. Anyway, there we go. The injury list, let's bring that up. Like, look at, I mean, they've got fewer players on the list here, but the details, like, they're explicit. And they also tell you when they're going to provide an update, which I think is fantastic as well. Alex Chincotto is an example there. He's 9 to 10 weeks. Harry Mackay, obviously the update was the 22nd. That's now 3 days ago. He's been selected to play. Lockie Cowan, I think, is playing, if I recall. I think. But yeah, the Chincotto one, very clear. Further assessment in round 9, clear for Orazio Fantasia. Then you've got season enders, but there's still, like, they've timestamped the updates. They give you that little bit of extra context that the Cats are also doing. This is what I want to see. It's the transparency. And it's driving me mad that Geelong aren't delivering the same thing. So hopefully we smack you on the weekend, Carlton. But credit to you, you're being transparent with your injuries. All right, let's continue on here. Some players under pressure, and I think two of the three are players who are coming in this week, and they've just, I don't think under pressure because they're failing to deliver, but under pressure because they're on the fringe when it comes to the starting 23, being Jai Clark and O'Shane Mullen. Jai has been in and out a little bit this year, is really fighting to kind of retain a space. I think he's doing a really great job for the most part. And certainly when he goes back to the VFL, he goes back and makes a strong statement. I think it's fantastic what he's been doing. He's going to remain on the edge, I think, for the majority of the season. But his progression is good. I'm happy with where we're headed with Jai Clark. Hopefully he can grab the bull by the horns and really show why he was the first round pick that he was. O'Shane Mullen, similar sort of things. Development is, I guess, the big thing for him still right now. Learning the game, learning the craft, reading the play, all of those sorts of things. He's going to continue to develop, continue to get better, and hopefully he takes his opportunity this weekend, but he is going to remain a little bit on the fringe. The third and final one, I'm really only indulging because lots of people are asking the question, the Ollie Henry scenario. He's, of course, I mean, I couldn't defend him this past week. He had a genuinely bad game this Monday against the Hawks. But I've been pretty staunch in my defense of him prior to that point because whilst he hasn't been piling on goals, he's been getting involved. There's been score involvements, goal assists, and I've been happy even though he wasn't the one kicking the goals. But you go and add a really poor performance that doesn't include any score involvements or goal assists on Monday, as well as not hitting the scoreboard yourself, becomes a bit harder to defend. And I think like he's struggling to find his place in that Geelong lineup that now features Paddy Dangerfield. It's difficult for him. He'll get there. I don't think he needs to go to the seconds because honestly, he'll go to the VFL. He'll kick 3 or 4 goals playing the more traditional role that he's played. And he'll come back to the first and the same problem will exist, which is Patrick Dangerfield and him being the focal point that he is. There's a few players that are struggling with it. Shannon Neal, Tyson Stengel, I think, has also struggled a little bit with the changing face of the forward line with Danger's presence. They'll all learn it, but I would rather have those guys out there because I feel like they are all capable of at least breaking even a contest, if not winning it, when it's their time to step up. And that's all you can ask of any player is when it is your moment that you step up. Shannon Neal, for example, made some horrific mistakes and really was fairly absent for the first 3 quarters of the Geelong and Hawthorn game. But he seized his moments when they came in the 4th quarter. Wasn't his day, but he had his moments and he grabbed the bull by the horns on a couple of occasions. He did make one mistake that's been pretty well documented in that last quarter. But I'm all for all 3 of those, but specifically Ollie, because he's the one that we're talking about here. I'm all for those guys remaining in the team. I think they've got a lot to add. And they will continue. The more time they spend with Danger playing in that forward line, the more time they spend to learn the dynamic as a group, the better off they'll be. We spoke about the Carlton ins here. So Harry Mackay in, Lewis Young out, and there's obviously Sam Doherty as a notable absentee. But otherwise, we're talking about a Carlton team that is pretty close to full strength. They've just struggled so far this season. And I'd hate for them to find form against us, essentially. Amy jumps in here with the chat saying, They clearly don't know when the players will be back, hence the TBC. All clubs can do it if they want. It's not just a Geelong thing. You're right, but I believe like after last season where there was the short-term, mid-term, long-term thing, the AFL asked the clubs to be more transparent and more clear about the state of their players. And Geelong seemingly has kind of gone the other way, where at least short-term, mid-term, long-term, you could read into that. You can infer something. TBC is as good as saying no comment. And so that's kind of the frustration for me. And he also says in relation to Grian is because he needs to go through certain steps as part of, absolutely. We know the normal protocols, but they could be they can say 1 to 2 weeks and then go, oh, it didn't work out. Something, he hasn't passed the tests and push it back. I think, I just think we can be more transparent and stop aggravating all of us, both non-supporters and the Geelong supporting community, whilst not being definitive. And also mentions Ollie Henry, 1 score involvement, 1 goal assist. He'll come good. Don't lose talent overnight. I wholeheartedly agree. I know, Amy, you're jumping in right now because I've been talking about it, but I think you fully know that I've been very much on team Ollie Henry throughout the season, whilst a few pitchforks have been coming out around us. I'm with you. I think he'll contribute very well over the course of the season. He's just got to find his place in this new forward line, and he'll get there. He's a brilliant player. As you say, you don't lose talent overnight. You just got to carve out your little niche within that space. All right, let's move on now to full-blown preview mode now. We'll talk a little bit more about this game. Sorry, I've still got the Carlton listing there. AFL.com.au. Let's bring up the match centre. Geelong and Carlton. There it is. Beautiful. As we speak, we are a day and 19 hours away from it. That is 3:20 on Sunday. A twilight game there to pretty much end the round. Cats currently going in as pretty overwhelming favourites. Don't worry about the odds, though. Carlton could pull one out of the hat here. We'll just have to see how it all shapes up. The current weather projection, 18 degrees with a chance of showers. I think that probably works in our favour a little bit if it rains, especially given the focal points of Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay, and neither of them necessarily being brilliant at ground level. So I think that's a favourable outcome for us if it does rain, or favours us more than it does them. But we'll see how all that goes. The important thing, of course, for every team in the competition, but Geelong specific here, is that we are celebrating Anzac Day this round. Of course, we've seen the big Anzac Day clash between Collingwood and Essendon. We're going to see, what now? Yeah, as of 3 minutes ago, the Adelaide and Fremantle game. And Geelong will be getting to debut its Anzac Day jersey this weekend. The superstar of round 6, Sean Manor, showing it off here. It looks absolutely phenomenal. And I think all the clubs actually are doing a pretty great job in their respect for the Anzacs. And hopefully everyone at every game this round conducts themselves like the people at Collingwood and Essendon did, like Melbourne and Richmond did last night. The respect has been incredible there. And hopefully that continues throughout the round. Of course, if we want to go back to some history here, talking a little bit about Geelong and Carlton, this is the 30-year anniversary, and Carlton is celebrating it, the 30-year anniversary of the 1995 Premiership robbery. Let's not pretend it's anything other than a bit of robbery here. We know that there was salary cap breaches, and for some reason, they weren't punished for it. Bring your brown paper bags, though. Put some coins in it, shake it around, make a bit of a fuss if you're going, just to remind them that they cheated their way to a premiership in that particular case. But there we go. Jackie's jumped in. Brown paper bags. So, yeah, sucked in, Carlton supporters. Congratulations on your dodgy win. We should be putting a star next to that. Expect another 80,000 person attendee crowd. I think last year it was like a Geelong record until the Easter Monday matchup. But the average crowd attendance for the Geelong and Carlton games last year was 81,500. It's a pretty amazing number, and expect numbers to be in a similar sort of ballpark. Potentially the weather impacts that a little bit. The fact that Carlton's currently a bit of a cellar dweller right now maybe impacts that a little bit. But if I'm a Carlton supporter, there should be a bit of belief. You've still got some really, really strong players. Your top, and I've actually been having this conversation a little bit with some students in my class some of my different classes over the course of this week. I genuinely believe the Carlton's top 6 players, and I'm not talking about based on position. I just mean if you were to look at every club in the competition's players and pick the best 6 players from that list, I would argue that Carlton's top 6 is the best, bar none. That includes Brisbane, that includes the Pies, that includes Hawthorn, us, GWS, any of those really serious competing teams. I think Carlton has the best, like their best 6 players are better than anyone else in the comp. The problem that Carlton is facing at the moment is depth. They don't have a lot of it. And so they need all their guns to fire. So as we kind of move into deeper into preview mode here, we can kind of explore that a little bit further. Going into this match though, form-wise, Geelong are 6th on the ladder. We've got 4 wins, 2 losses, and we're on a 3-game winning streak. The Blues, they're 2-4. They're on a 2-game winning streak. They've lost their last 5 games of the MCG and 4 wins from their last 15 games. And this goes back to the thing that people have been saying. They have won 4 games against 2 opponents. They've beaten West Coast twice and North Melbourne twice. Make of that what you will. The last time we played, though, it was Carlton by 63 points at the MCG. They absolutely pulverized us. After we got the chocolates earlier on in the year, we did not show up for that second match. Jeremy Cameron kicked 3 goals, though. Ollie Dempsey had 25 disposals. Brian Myers, 9 tackles. For Carlton, Charlie Curnow kicked 5. Paddy Cripps had 41. And Tom De Koning was best on ground versus his brother Sam. WJDB, I'm aware. I'm not pinning your comment. We've been kind of saving that conversation for different places because there's a whole bunch of legal things going on that we shouldn't be wading into lest we get sued down the line. Let's talk about some history. This is the 226th time that Geelong and Carlton will match up against each other, and Carlton do have the winning record against us. They've won 53% of those matches up to this point. Hopefully, that percentage comes down a little bit off the back of this weekend. It includes 2 draws, which includes a 1962 preliminary final. Carlton came and won the following week. This is before extra time was a thing. The last 6 games have been split, 3 wins apiece, but Geelong holds a 3-2 advantage at the MCG. Finals history, we just spoke about brown paper bags. The 1995 grand final, Carlton won by 61 points. 1994, the semi-final, the Cats won by 33 points, and we're missing 3 of our best midfielders that day. And then we have to go right back to 1981, a semi-final there where Carlton got that one done to the tune of 40 points. Of course, the 80s were Carlton's pretty much. It was dominance from them through that period. We haven't really matched up against them in finals too much over the years since because they've been a pretty rubbish team for this entire century. But that might start to change. We might see them a little bit more if the last few seasons are anything to go by. There are some memorable matches that we'll talk about here. Round 22, 2001 might ring some bells and certainly aggravate the Carlton supporters because Darren Milburn was suspended for 3 weeks after knocking Stephen Silvani into next week. Carlton supporters were furious and Milburn clapped at the crowd because of course he did. A police escort was also required to ensure that Milburn got out of the ground unharmed. Dasher would go on to win 2 premierships. So sucked in Blues fans, Ben says. I love having a running sheet. It's handy. Of course, there's round 11, 2002. Again, one that might aggravate Carlton supporters. Peter Riccardi got that goal after the siren from beyond 50. There is still some contention to this day as to whether that ball was, in fact, touched off the boot or by the man on the mark. The record, there we go. Jackie nails it. Rico, but was it touched? Look, the way that ball wobbles, the result is the result. But the way that ball wobbles through, shapes through the air, it does make you think that there had to have been something. There must have been something. But anyway, the Cats got the win. We move on. Round 2, 2007, Geelong's biggest ever win over the Blues. Tom Hawkins kicked 3 goals on... Geelong's biggest ever win over the Blues. That was round 2, 2007. Really? Geelong round 2, 2007. Is it the biggest win we've ever had over the Blues? Really? Was 2. Yeah, okay. Right. That's a nice refresher. 24 goals, 18. 162, beating the Blues 12-12, 84. It wasn't some ridiculous, enormous win in that, not a 100+ win in that particular scenario, but I didn't realize that was the biggest win that we'd ever had over them. Good one, Ben. Jackie says we won. That's what it says in the record books, and that's what we're going to stick by. But in that particular game, Tom Hawkins kicked 3 goals on debut. Nathan Ablett kicked 5. And of course, it was just before the dynasty really began. That obviously infamous match against Richmond only a few weeks later would be what spurred the Cats onto premiership glory. But we got an early big win in that scenario. Round 9, 2011, Carlton blow multiple shots at goal late in the fourth to gift Geelong the win. And then in round 12, 2014, Geelong puts Joel Selwood in front in the dying... Joel Selwood puts the Cats in front in the dying moments to seal a win away there. Carlton have had their opportunities over the years, and they've not been able to take those. Let's see what happens this weekend. In terms of some stakes, and I do like talking about the stakes at play for this game. For Geelong, we're, of course, closing in on a top 4 position. The ladder is... Things are playing out nicely for us at the moment, for the most part. If I look at the live ladder, Adelaide is progressing. They must be in the lead at the moment. I haven't checked the live scores as things stand, but they have pushed up the ladder according to the live ladder. But Geelong has the opportunity this round to skip into the top 4. Oh, actually, no, sorry. Scores are level right now. That'll explain why Adelaide slipped the way they have. The live ladder, again, that will inevitably change. Ben's jumped into the chat. Good to have you, mate. I don't know if you saw, I started the show a bit early tonight, just to, I've got a few things on the plate right now. But it's good to have you, mate. We've already had to kick one person out for being a wanker. Hopefully you can keep on it from here for me, mate. In terms of stakes, Geelong wins. We're another step closer to a top 4 position, but we're, of course, just extending a lead over this fairly lengthy chasing pack of teams who are currently, as things stand, sitting on 12 points. We want to extend that lead. We want to give ourselves some space. We want to give ourselves a nice buffer. And of course, this early block of games, we've spoken about how there were some really difficult teams in there, and we want to get the wins whenever we can. For Carlton, they really want to remain relevant in season 2025. Right now, that ladder position, they're sitting on a very healthy percentage after beating up on a few teams in the last few weeks. But they only have the 2 wins, and this is a team who was supposed to be vying off for a premiership this year in the eyes of a lot of people, myself included. I thought, for the ladder, I'd tip them to be top 2 going into the year, and then injuries derailed things pretty early on. Freo must be in the lead now because the ladder's shifting before my very eyes. They need to win just to remain relevant and kind of a factor in this season. But if they perform like they have against all the other teams they've played so far this season, that percentage will take a dent, and they will remain 2 wins from 7 games in that scenario. In terms of some game breakers, in terms of what we want to see this week as Geelong supporters, but also for Carlton supporters, who's the big player for you? For the Cats, we've seen it for a few weeks now. Danger has been an absolute rock star. And I genuinely don't think Carlton has a matchup for him at the moment. They've got the key position forwards, the traditional key position forwards covered, with Wiedering in particular, there to do the job on Shannon Neale or Jeremy Cameron, whoever's kind of playing more out of the forward 50. I presume that'll be Shannon Neale. They're going to be okay in that regard, but the Patrick Dangerfield factor, the crazy variable that is Paddy Dangerfield, I think is going to cause them a few headaches because they don't really have a mid to small option, I think, that can handle someone like Paddy Dangerfield, who's playing the way Paddy Dangerfield is. He is back to All-Australian form at the moment. And I'm just quickly looking at their defense. Jack Silvani, could be there or thereabouts, but I think Danger would kind of maul him at different points. Nick Haynes is just simply not physical enough. Zach Williams, I think, is a little bit brittle, but also I'm interested. They've kind of listed him that way. I feel like he's more likely to play in the forward line based on how we've seen Carlton play lately. Mitch McGovern, they've got as a key defensive player, as well as Jacob Wiedering. Adam Sard, he's never been accountable in his life, so I don't see him having a crack at Danger. But yeah, Wiedering and McGovern are kind of tied up with Neale and Cameron. This is a real opportunity to send Danger deep and freak those Carlton defenders out. For the Blues, though, Sam Walsh is the dangerous one for me. He accumulates the ball well. He's a physical beast, not to the same degree as Paddy Cripps, but he's a bit of a physical monster. I wouldn't mind us putting Tommy Atkins on him, to be honest, just to kind of limit that a little bit. He does like to get to the bottom of the contest, which probably the one contest I feel like Tom Atkins hasn't won lately was the one against. Why am I going blank on his name? He plays for Adelaide. He's playing right now. I'm going completely blank on his name. It's not Isaac Rankin. Sorry, Isaac Rankin. Because Rankin's speed really caused some issues. Now, Sam Walsh does have some of that speed himself, but thanks, Jared. I know there's a bit of delay, but yeah, thank you. Sam Walsh does have speed, not to the same level as an Isaac Rankin, I might add, but he does have that speed. The thing is that he is more willing to get to the bottom of the contest and win the ball. And in that particular scenario, that brings Tom Atkins into the game because he can just lock him down. I think Sam Walsh is the most dangerous of all of those Carlton midfielders this weekend. I think we can put a Mark Blitzarves or someone like that on a Paddy Cripps, Max Holmes even. And at least break even in that contest. Sam Walsh is the tricky one because he's got that speed as well. I'd like to see Tom Atkins just squash him when he goes under the contest so that he can't break away with the ball. And he delivers it well inside 50. So let's squash him. He's in good form too. So that's the one that worries me. Jackie does, though, rightly mention Blake Acres has always played well against us, regardless of the team he's played at. And he's played at 3, the Saints, the Dockers, or the Blues. He's been great every single time. I don't love that. You're right. He caused some headaches last year, but I respect the how and why you're going the way you are. I'm erring on the Sam Walsh side in this particular one. For the Cats, we're talking about keys to victory here next. It's all about the centre clearance. And again, we talk about what Carlton have at their disposal. Their midfield unit is extremely strong. It is their greatest strength as far as I'm concerned. I know they've got Charlie and Harry Mackay, sorry. But their midfield unit for me is their greatest asset. From Tom De Koning in the ruck to Paddy Cripps to Sam Walsh, as we've just mentioned. Chera comes through. Hollands comes through. You've got, and I'm double checking my team sheet. Elijah Holland's coming in the space. George Hewitt is in career best form. They've got lots of really high quality players that are cycling through that midfield at the moment, and they are really dangerous. All I want us to do, winning the center clearance is not typically our thing. We tend not to win the center clearance, but if we can just break even or get really close, that gives us a huge advantage. If we just put those the clearances they do get under significant pressure, that will also help. As soon as they start dumping the ball inside 50, especially if the weather flares up, the two big key pillars that they've got to rely on, being Charlie and Harry, will struggle. Not because they're no good, but it's just what you expect when the ball becomes a cake of soap. So put the pressure on the midfielders, make it hard for them to clear it, even if they succeed in clearing it themselves, and we go a long way towards winning this game. My ultimate prediction in this matchup is the Cats will win by 30 points. I don't think it'll be any sort of blowout. I do think that obviously there's a little bit of excitement there at Carlton right now, and confidence is important. You just have to get your tails up, and suddenly that changes things. But they have been losing against decent teams, and they've only won matches against West Coast and North Melbourne in their last 15 games. So their form kind of sucks for the most part. And I think we'll get the job done by 30 points and against an improved Carlton, but not improved enough. Now we're just going to jump into a little bit of trivia here before we move into the other games and then get to our sponsor. Let's talk about some Cats that have become Blues over the journey. And Ben's compiled a nice little list for me. It's not a comprehensive one, but there's a few. And if you know any others, please don't hesitate to throw those names out in the comments. We've also, got a few comments here. We've got, do you think Carlton will play their new rookie drafted player, Isaac Moore? I'm sus on the name. I'm not familiar with the player with that name, and I'm not game to continue reading that out. So I'm going to double check their listed players. Isaac, somebody. Isaac. Yeah, no, I'm on to you, mate. Nice try. How about 31? Who's 31? Harry Lemmy? Are you talking about our 31? Not 100% clear, Nigel Goonberry, who you're referring to in that particular scenario. Or are you talking about ours? Are you talking about the Cats? Or are you talking about or are you talking about the Blues? Because yeah, you're either talking about the 31-point margin. I mean, I went 30, go 31. Why not? We'll raise it. I'll commit to 31. 31 points it is. For the sake of 1 point, I'm happy to budge. All right. So yeah, there's been some Cats that have become Blues over the years. We've got a little list of half a dozen here: Greg Williams, Mickey Mansfield, Billy Smets, Darcy Lang, Lockie Fogarty, who's obviously still playing for the Blues, Frankie Evans, who's over there these days as well. On the flip side, some Blues that have become Cats and have done pretty well in their time with us: Lockie Henderson, Justin Murphy, Zach Toohey, being a very recent premiership player as well. We've had a lot of success picking up some Blues over the years. Them, especially in more recent years, not so much when it comes to the Cats that they've adopted. And that's the way I'd rather it be. We want to win every encounter we have with Carlton. In terms of the rest of the round, if I quickly get my screen projection going here, like I said, we've only had the 2 games so far this round. Let's get that going. That's not the screen that I want, though. Let me stop sharing that and let's try it again. Much better. We've had the 2 games played in full so far. Melbourne getting the win by 20 points. The Pies winning by 41 today. It was pretty competitive for a while, but Essendon have been kicking straight, Collingwood a little wayward. They pulled away in that last quarter in particular to win by 41 points. Nick Dacos getting his first win as a captain, something he'll spend a lot of time doing over the years, I am sure. And then we've got the live game, where Freo right now is getting the job done at home. What's the 4 straight to 1 goal one? Who has kicked the goals up to this point? Oh, sorry, player stats. Come on. Tracy, Frederick, Bolton, and Amos all with 1 goal apiece. Jake Saligo for the Crows with the 1 goal. And accumulators, the Crows are getting a lot of the ball, but not doing much with it, as we can see here. So early days in that one still. It's not even quarter time, but a nice start for Freo. And perhaps they won't keep playing that ugly vanilla football that has been discussed lately. All right. In terms of the other games of the round, there's a little bit to digest. So we've got St Kilda and Brisbane playing on Saturday. Port and North Melbourne will be going head-to-head on Saturday as well, where Luke Parker will be playing his 300th game. Congratulations to Luke Parker on an enormous milestone. Most of those as a Swan, the last few recently as a Kangaroo. And I don't know, North haven't been overly competitive lately, but hopefully they can get a win for him on this occasion. For a very intriguing and important matchup, we have the Giants going head-to-head with the Dogs. Of course, this has been one of the more bitter rivalries ever since 2016 in that prelim final. It's gotten a bit ugly at different points. It's been it's become must-watch football whenever those 2 teams go head-to-head these days. You love to see it. But importantly, and we discussed it during it was during the Paul James show of last week, because Sam Darcy went down during the match, during the show. And I looked at the footage, and if you go back to watch the video now, we actually got demonetized because it was Channel 7's footage. So I actually had to snip that footage from the video. But what I said at the time, and then reiterated when I had the next episode of the Paul James show, was that I thought he'd hyperextended his knee. And that's exactly what it was. There was apparently a bit of a fracture, the bit of damage to the kneecap as well, which is extending it. But I also heard today that the initial projection of 3 to 4 months has already come into 2 to 3 months. So things are going very well there. They're talking about him returning maybe not long after the bye, as opposed to on the eve of finals, should the Dogs make it. It's a fantastic result for him. Obviously, there were a lot of fears at the time. It was 20 years to the round since his dad had done an ACL. He's dodged that bullet. It's fantastic to hear. Now everyone's raising me. Kerry's raising me to 35 points. The 35 points thing is coming back again. Um, we'll leave that alone for now. Gold Coast and Sydney are playing on Sunday. I think that's a really fascinating one. The Swans need to win. They are in a really bad place right now. A bit like Carlton have been one of the more disappointing teams of this season. They need a win desperately, and they're going to have to try and get one against a team that is in white-hot form in the Gold Coast Suns. Of course, they've recently had a loss against Richmond that they shouldn't have, but they're overall in a pretty good place. So I'd expect the Suns to probably get the win based on current form, but you cannot rule out the Swans, who are still a high-quality team. They're just not firing on all cylinders right now, and they are fairly depleted. Hawthorn and West Coast play on Sunday. Tim Kelly is going to be celebrating his 150th game, a former Cat. So congratulations to Tim Kelly, who absolutely played his best football at the Cats and hasn't gotten anywhere near those heights ever since. But we love him anyway. He also unlocked Jeremy Cameron for us through trade, so much appreciated all that Tim Kelly has offered the Geelong Football Club. We mentioned, obviously, Geelong and Carlton themselves will be playing the Twilight game, but the VFL game is also occurring on the Sunday, 11:05 at Icon Park. Geelong currently placed 4th. Carlton placed 19th on the ladder. Jake Kolajasny, as we spoke about before, is set to return, while Visick and Kyton Matafai Forbes are due to play their first game. The VFLW is a far closer matchup. Geelong 11th versus Carlton 12th. That is at Deakin, 12:05 on Saturday. So if you're looking for Geelong football all weekend, you've got it. Saturday, 12:05 at Deakin. Sunday, 11:05 at Icon Park. And then you can mosey on over to the MCG to go watch the AFL teams play that afternoon. It's a good time if you're a Cats fan. Go check all of those matchups out. All right. Before we progress with the show any further, it is time to take a word from our sponsor, Cyril Cook Florist.
The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist. Visit them at shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. Phone them on 035 222 2244 or visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au and use the offer code GOCATS in the voucher field at checkout to get 20% off your next online purchase.
Thank you, Cyril Cook Florist, as always, for your ongoing support of the Hoops Crew and all we get up to. Now, let's get into the all-important Q&A section of the show here. Firstly, while people are starting to populate that with some questions, thank you to some new patrons who've joined the Hoops Crew: Damon Morton, Nigel Kerr, Vince Ruston, and Nigel Anderson. Very much appreciate all of you and your support of the Hoops Crew. That $5 or $6 that you're donating every month helps us to produce more content. I guess for me, selfishly, these fantastic lights that have improved the quality of my video production this year, that came from our Patreon money. We're trying to take whatever we can, reinvest it in the business to make better products for you. Thank you to everyone who is a patron. Also want to say thank you to some of our YouTube channel members: Jared Fox, Go Time AFL, Tropical Aussie, Sean Dux, and Lena Neal. You're all amazing individuals. I have seen Jared so far in the show just recently when he helped me with Isaac Rankin's name. If the others are there, thank you very much as well. If you're checking this out after the fact, we very, very much appreciate you and your ongoing support of what we do. We are trying to chase 2,000 YouTube subscribers this year. And we are rapidly closing in on that figure. As of, well, when Ben put together the notes, I'll check to see what the figure is now. We had 1,845 subscribers to the YouTube channel. That is now 1,846. So thank you to the individual who's signed up recently. Please, if you've got family, friends, people who want to check out footy content, Geelong content, steer them the Hoops Crew's way and check out all of the stuff that we produce there, whether it is the Paul James Show live, post-game live, the Chaps Chat Cats, the reaction videos, the kind of me getting up on a soapbox talking about the topic of the day, all of those things, the Ben's Just the Tip videos, footy tips videos, all of that stuff. There's heaps there to consume. We've got daily content. Check it out. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you've got a friend who's maybe just not aware of us yet, steer them our way as well. Ben, jam it so far up your ass. Apparently Friday, May 23rd is World Turtle Day. I will not be featuring on any content that day. I don't care what the occasion is. Do we play a game Friday, May 23rd? What's happening on Friday, May 23rd? Outside of World Turtle Day. You're the worst. Oh, phew. We play Thursday night. Thursday, May 22nd, we play. So the reaction video the next day will go out, but I will not be featuring on any live content, and I will sure as shit not be wearing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle related apparel. All right, Q&A. Please don't hesitate to throw some questions out there if you've got them. There's plenty for us to discuss. And we've got a few little talking points here as well that I'll just kind of ramble on about. Jared has come in with a question that that I am keen to discuss, but I'm also like, Ben's there. I'd love for if Ben, I'm not sure what your availability is right now. If you are sitting at your computer and not on your phone, and it's easy for you to do so, jump into the Paul James Show now. I'd love to. Holy shit. I'll quickly finish responding to this before I focus on what I just saw that caught my attention. Yeah, I'd love to be able to discuss. Holy shit, I'm distracted. I'd love to be able to discuss that with you if you happen to be available. But look, I very much want to get behind the play going again. We've got people that we want to chat to. Scheduling is a little bit difficult at time. Access to the club has been limited. And what I would love for you and everyone else to do, push it through socials. We are kind of in this awkward spot at the moment where we're not a minnow, but we're not the big media dogs or anything like that. Access is a little bit hard to get when it comes to especially players, because we're trying to do things. We've been asked to do things above board, but then when we've tried to do that, the response has been kind of non-existent from the media team so far. We would very much love any support and kind of pressuring them a little bit to give us some access to some players to chat to for things like behind the play, because it's one of my favorite things. And for me personally, and now I'm just getting very selfish here for a second, I love doing the match reactions. I love doing the Paul James Show. I love doing post-game live, sitting on my soapbox talking about whatever topic I want to. But my bread has been buttered in this kind of content scene through one-on-one interviews. As a lot of you know, I had a game podcast, Dev Diary, where I would chat to game developers. There's like 200 episodes of the show. It was fortnightly going back to 2017, 2018. And I've had to put that on hiatus, maybe even to bed completely, because time has just not been available to me to be able to orchestrate that and get guests on the show. It's been quite some time since I've done that. Behind the play has also, because of the struggles working with the club to get guests, that's also been a bit of a problem for us as well. So for me, there's a huge slice of my content that I want to make that I just can't engage with at the moment. It's kind of sucks. So yeah. We'd love to get people on the show. It's just been a little bit difficult at the moment. I'm prepared to play the waiting game, and I know that one day we'll be able to get that back. Now, the comments are popping off because, Kerry, you're an absolute rock star. $50. Thank you so much for that support. We really, really appreciate it. You've also probably just made this video the most profitable video we've had all year with a single click of a button. So thank you very much. I feel like I need to keep this pin for the rest of the show. That's incredible. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your support. I know you promised big figures if the Cats won by 35 points the other day. That didn't eventuate, and I'm kind of glad, because the numbers you were talking about were ridiculous. I don't think in good conscience we could accept it. We'd try and refund it to you if we could. But thank you. I think from the bottom of all of our hearts at the Hoops Crew, thank you to you and everyone else who supports what we're up to. Did Ben set some sort of a goal? Like, did he put stakes up there? I hope that he's not volunteered me to do something stupid now. What's now? I'm a bit fearful. Did he set some sort of last minute goal that then I now have to follow through on because you've just dropped $50 in there? Oh, that's going to hurt. Is there a goal right now? No, I don't care about Elbow's apparent lies. Ugh. No, we don't have one. We don't have any super chat goal at the moment. Even more, it's just a totally generous act. Thank you so much. Refused TM asks, what are your thoughts on Ollie Wiltshire debuting? From my boy Tom. Hey Tom, hopefully you're enjoying the show. I'll make sure I keep my cussing to a minimum. You are still an impressionable 10-year-old, and I want to be a good role model where I can. I mean, he hasn't actually come in for Brian Myers, technically speaking. That was Oisin Mullen, I think, in the end. But I'm a big fan of this move. I think Willie's output be as great as Grian? No, probably not. Grian's been pushing for All Australian a few times in the last few years. This is a guy making his debut. But I think if he kicks a goal, I mean that'd obviously be amazing. We want to see players in their debut get a goal where they can. If you can get a goal and link up with some goal assists and some score involvements, I think that's a big win for him. Bring that defensive pressure will be really important too. This could be a big game in front of a really big crowd. So if he can come out and not be overawed by it, whatever his outcome is, I think it's going to be a win. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can offer. He's been doing some great things in the VFL, but I haven't been able to watch any VFL this year, so I haven't really seen any footage either. I'm keen to see where he's at in his development, and he's going to do so on a massive stage. I'm really, really excited. Thanks, Tom, for asking the question. Refused him. Thank you for passing that one on. Yeah, that's an awesome one. I mean, the whole thing is fantastic. I'm gonna drop the image in here again, the Ollie Wiltshire graphic. It's awesome to have him debuting. I need a soundboard to celebrate super chats. Just get the burp, 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 burp sound effects going on. I think there's some compatibility with StreamYard that we use as our platform. Ben, I haven't seen him in the comments since he reached out before, so I don't know if, outside of talking about Turtle Days, I don't know if he's actually still there. But I'm also not sure what level of compatibility there is with StreamYard and some of the different software that you can kind of, drop the set. Let me see what we've got in our media assets. Maybe there's no, they're just kind of different beats. Maybe we'll have to import some audio and see what we can do with it in the future. Even if it's just dropping the Geelong theme song for a moment. All right, let's look at some of these prompts that Ben has kind of helped provide for us here. He's spoken about the 2-year ban for the. Of course he will, because he's an arsehole. Dead set arsehole. He's trying to make this into a thing. And if I am to do it, and I can't, I know I committed to something on a live show recently where I set the stakes, like I set the bar quite high though. Like if we got, maybe it was the 50 patrons or something like that. If we got the 50 patrons, then I'd do Ninja Turtle pajamas. Hell, let's go with that. If we hit the 50 patrons this year, if we hit 50 patrons on the Hoops Crew, and right now, as of last I checked, I think it's sat at 34, 35. If we hit 50 before the end of the season, yeah, we're on 34 right now. Thank you to all 34 of you. If we hit 50, Jackie's saying clip it. Someone clip it if you want. If we, hang on, I'll go full screen so it's there. Everyone, this is the moment. Clip this if you need. If the Hoops Crew hits 50 patrons, that is patreon.com/the Hoops Crew. If we hit 50 patrons before the end of the year, which is our goal anyway, that was something that as a team we're trying to strive to get and try and get more people engaged in that additional content that we're creating. If that number hits 50, we only need 16 more people to be paid up patrons of the Hoops Crew. If we do that, yeah, I'll wear Ninja Turtle pajamas. Done. Clip it. End clip. All right. Let's get to some of the other prompts here. The 2-year ban for a 16-year-old. It's a really interesting one. So the SCG has done that. Not the Sydney Swans, not the AFL. In fact, both parties were blindsided. by the SCG making this decision. So a 2-year ban, look, I think it's actually a little bit heavy-handed. I think it was a wildly inappropriate act. Knock him out for the rest of the season. I think that's fair. But because the SCG have made that call, he could still go to any other ground in the country. I think he's learned his lesson already, but he could go to any other game in the country and still behave the same way. So anyway, that's that one. Refuse TM jumps in talking about the behind the play side from before. My 2 cents regarding player interviews. It would be good for you guys, but I personally like your offerings for their uniqueness, content you don't get anywhere else. Keep it up. Refuse TM, I'm not sure if you've caught behind the play before. I'm genuinely of the mind that the interviews that I've produced there in that scene are very different to your typical ones, what you'd expect from a typical media thing. It's very much, I can't believe I'm using this comparison, but This Is Your Life, like that old Ray Martin show. It very much follows that model where we kind of do the entire walk through the person's career, exploring the highs and lows that they've experienced throughout their career up to that point. I so very dearly miss doing it because I do think the interviews, they are very different to what you get from traditional media. The Grime Myers one will always be my favorite. Firstly, it was a great conversation. It also gave me access to someone who has informed my son's love of football. He made him a footy fan after he nearly spat the dummy and decided to quit off the back of a kid stealing a ball out of his hands when Tom Hawkins gave it to him. So is it true the clapper the teenager threw was made of paper? I believe so. I actually initially thought it was just a footy record. And Ben has just spotted the super chat. So again, another big shout out to Kerry for that incredible super chat donation before. We'll pin it again because it's unreal. Thank you so much. Thoughts on Condinia Park being used for a major US film? Yeah, I don't quite understand what's going on with that one. I really don't understand what's going on with that one. It's a strange thing, but whatever. It's money going into the Geelong community, which is great. I find it actually for anyone unaware, I live in the Macedon Ranges, so kind of this nicely triangulated. I say triangle, but I'm really talking about four different kind of key city centres here. This beautifully triangulated spot between Melbourne, Geelong, Bendigo, and Ballarat. Work that out if you like. Kind of in the sweet spot in the middle there. Jared recommends that I put the playlist out. I'll see if I can do that whilst I'm chatting. We have celebrities kind of come, like big international global celebrities coming through all the time, and recording out of the Macedon Range because it's a beautiful part of the world. You can get some really nice scenic locations and those sorts of things. It's awesome. Let me bring up behind the hoops crew. Behind the play. I'm going through my own personal account now, so I don't know what's going to come blasting out at me. Ben, since you've clearly been gone for a little bit, the conversation has kind of emerged about behind the play once again. But yeah, we're on the same page. We want to get behind the play back up and running at some point in the future. We'll get there. There we go. We've both done the same thing at the same time. There is the playlist for Behind the Play. For anyone who's not caught it before, please consider checking that one out. And it is on our to-do list to find ways to get the show up and running again. I sincerely hope that we can do so. I will carve out time to make it work. But we'll work on it. The film using GMHBA does coincide with games at the MCG, so they can just train at Deakin anyway, I guess. Yeah. And again, I guess, especially if it's colliding with Geelong training and those sort of things, and the club can probably siphon, there's probably some money that they get paid out for, I guess, forfeiting the stadium for that time, considering they've got the right to the grounds at that time. Maybe they can get a little bit of cash out of that too, just because of the like a business transaction, really. I do need the week to be 8 days long so I can fit in all this content. Behind the Hoops crew content, the footy, the games content, and then my full-time job and a family, pretty time poor. I will say, I get to watch episode 3 of The Last of Us tonight, and that's not out for a few days. Keen. Next point, will Zach Guthrie become a 300-game player? Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. It took him a while to kind of... How old is he now? He only played 108 games. That's ridiculous. I won't say no doubt about it because it took him a little while to earn his place. So I've actually lost track of how old he is now. Let me quickly bring him up. Zach Guthrie, number 39. There he is. He's 26 years old, and he's got to play. That would mean he's got to play another 192 games. Suppose his career goes on for another 8 years, hypothetically. 192 to go, divided by 8 would mean he'd need to play 24 games a year for the next 8 years. It's not missing a game. I think 250, yes. I'm going to say no to 300. Ben, were you here when I made the big comment? If you and Brendan's just arrived at the right time as well, so what'd you miss? I have made a commitment, and I've given everyone the opportunity. I full screened it and gave everyone the opportunity to clip it, and I believe it's probably already been clipped. I've committed to, if we hit 50 patrons before the end of the season, I'm going to do the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pajamas thing. So 50 patrons is all we're looking for. We're on 34 at the moment. That's 16 more for the season. Brennan asked, how many episodes are left for The Last of Us? Can't be many left after the golf episode last week. There's 7 episodes in this season. But just like I'm trying to be super careful here. Just like how the game is kind of split into 2 separate parallel chunks. Season 2 is going to be one half. My understanding is season 2 is going to be one half that we all like focusing on, I guess, a certain really key character. One isn't, no, actually we can say enough here. Ellie is one half, Abby is the other. That's what kind of occurs in the game. And I believe the TV series is going to follow that same model as well. Yeah, Chucky, I think I initially flippantly said yes, but yeah, 26 years old. He's got to play 24 games a season over the course of the next 8 years to hit 300. That's assuming no injuries, no anything. And of course, that means finals a lot too. 250, yes. 300, probably no. But the average, career of an AFL player seems to be going up. We're getting more and more players at the moment who are really prolonging their careers LeBron James style at the moment. Not to the point where they're turning 40, but Pendle's is close, and Hawk, got to his late 30s, and Danger's pushing that. Like, that average age is starting to trend upwards, and maybe that works for someone like Zach Guthrie. We'll see. It's an interesting one, though. Ben gave me a lot of points here, but I'm only, like I've mentioned, it's not going to be a super long show for me tonight. So I'll only focus on a couple more of these. I'll take any other last-minute questions from people in the chat, and then I'm going to have to bounce because I do have a lot of content stuff I've got to do tonight. As well as some rest. I should probably sleep. It's a public holiday. I've had an opportunity to get an extra day off. I should probably utilize that somehow. Is Bailey Smith a chance to win the Brownlow medal? I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say no because his form has been fantastic. He's performing like a player who could win the Brownlow. He will get himself suspended at some point this season. This whole playing on the edge thing, that is great. We love it. It's working very well. He's going to overstep at some point, I think, and just get rubbed out for a week or something, but that'll cost him. Chucky asked, have I played Last Epoch? I believe that's an ARPG, like a Diablo-like, if I recall. Confirm if I'm wrong there, but it's not one that actually, like, I've heard the name. Yeah, it is an ARPG. I haven't actually tried it out, but is it on console? Because I'm not much of a PC guy. The reason being that PC games, I have to come into the shed to do it. Now, right now, it's kind of pissing down outside. it can get pretty cold in here, especially in winter. It gets really bitterly cold in here because it is just a shed. I've got some nice timber insulation, as people can see, but it gets pretty cold in here, so it's not overly pleasant to be in here. And I don't have a Steam Deck or something like that yet to play it on either. Maybe I just need to reach out to Valve and see if they'll do me a favor, but I don't have that sort of relationship with them that they'll send me an $800 handheld. At least not yet. When it comes to console, it's definitely the sort of game I'll check out, especially now, as soon as we say it's an ARPG. If it is already on console, and I need to check it, because I've kind of tuned out to it a little bit because I believed it was just PC. Yeah, PC only. One day, especially like if I have heard its name quite a lot, so I believe it to be relatively successful. I'm keen to check it out. It just needs to meet me where I am, I think, or I need to get a Steam Deck sometime in the near future. What else have we got here? The other issue is that Smith, if he shows the other issue with Smith is if he shows he reacts, clubs will use to try and knock him off his game. Yeah, I think he's like the discipline thing is going to be really important. He's, I guess, made himself into a bit of a lightning rod now. And I'm sure there'll be a test for him this weekend after his behavior against Hawthorn, off the back of flipping the bird the game before as well. He's going to get tested. People are going to try and test his patience. Kerry says, I can't wait for GTA 6 on the PS5. It's going to be game of the year like Red Dead Redemption 2. It won't be, because a little game that I'm going to show off shortly is going to be game of the... What do we like? I showed off Claire Obscure Expedition 33 the other day. A trailer for it. Now, I've been playing it for a little while. And I adore that game. It's currently sitting on a 92 Metacritic. It's one of the best reviewed games of the year. Might be equal top at the moment, actually. Ghost of Yotei comes out later this year from Sucker Punch. For me, that's top dog at the moment. But of course, GTA is going to be the most successful game of the year without any doubt. Anyway, I'll quickly power through one or two more questions here, or one or two more prompts that Ben has compiled for me. Before I go through Game of the Week, which will be Ghost of Yotei, and end the show. Will Patrick Dangerfield, currently 14 goals, 7 kick, more goals than Jeremy Cameron, 13-7 in 2025? No, because I think Danger will get some weeks off at different stages through the season, and that gives Jezza a bit of an advantage. Which cat will kick their first AFL goal in season 2025? O'Shea Mullen, Connor O'Sullivan, or other? Well, I mean, it's going to be Ollie Wiltshire now, right? I know Ben put these together before Ollie was selected, but I think for me, it's going to be Ollie Wiltshire now. But if it's not him, I'm actually backing Connor O'Sullivan. He's been a little bit, he's ventured out a little bit recently. He's ventured out of the defensive half on a couple of occasions recently, and I think he's going to get on the end of one of them within range and slot it sometime soon. So I don't think it'll be long before he kicks his first either. Will the AFL make an in-season change to the 15-meter kick-in rule? No, but I think what they really need to do is work with the curators, the ground curators, on the, and this is such a weird thing for me to be talking about mowing, but they need to cut the grass consistently so that they are 15 meters. Like, it makes it a lot easier for the umpires if they go each segment, each square of turf, it represents 15 meters apart. Because we are getting kicks that are absolutely greater than 15 meters at the moment that are not being paid. We saw a mark taken during the Melbourne and Richmond game yesterday that was close enough to 15 meters that the players kind of got in cold feet and taken off regardless. And it was a bad decision. They got wrapped up, and I think they gave away holding the ball in the end. But they actually, I think in the eyes of most, took a fair and reasonable mark. So I think we need some visual cues that make it easier for the umpires. And I know that a lot of grounds have done this in the past. It's just, I don't know why it's not really, there's ways we can do this better that make it easier. I'm all for enforcing the 15 meters, but make it easier for the umpires to make that call. Refuse team suggesting that perhaps they're currently 10 meters apart at present. Got you thinking. Yeah, I think it's such an easy way to fix it. It's already just a cosmetic thing that the ground staff are doing to make it look a certain way. assist the game by making them 15 meters apart. Doesn't mean you're going to get every single one right, because the ball doesn't get kicked in straight lines. It's getting kicked, on a 45-degree angle, and it's kind of crossing squares. But it gives the umpires something to work with. Speaking of turf, did you notice several Geelong players slipping over on Easter Monday? Frustrating to watch. I did also notice a lot of Hawthorn players slipping over, especially early on in the game. So I think players were being plagued to different levels at different points. We obviously focus on our lot in that regard, but I saw it a bit, and I actually listened to, and it was a handy thing. The Triple M podcast feed put up, they have like the mini match, and they go through some of the highlights. And there was quite a few times where, Geelong had kicked it, like it was a Geelong highlight, Geelong had kicked a goal. But you heard in the commentary, such and such slips over, and they were talking about a Hawthorn player. So, okay, maybe it's both sides. More than I realized. And they specifically called it out. So I'm like, okay, cool, it's happening. Jackie suggesting the umpires trying to do Pythag on the ground. Look, I'm a math teacher. If they need some help, pay me and I'll come and help. Should the AFL be seriously considering a send-off rule for the egregious acts? Lee Matthews spoke about this the other day. I think I've spoken about it a little bit in the past. Yes, I'm okay with it. But you need to have some sort, like the ARC in play. You probably need to have someone who can speak on the MRO side and classify it straight away so that they can make that call. You've probably got a minute to work with. As far as I'm concerned, that's about it. Yeah, there's plenty of merit in that too. Refuse team. It's a tricky one. But they'll work through it. They'll work out if they go down this path, I should say, they'll pretty easily work out what the best policy is to make it as easy as they can for umpires, and they'll consult them if they do this right. The AFL, but it is for for the blatantly obvious thing. It's not the footballing act gone wrong. It's for the Connor Nash. It's for I hate to say it, but the Tom Stewart, clearly behind the play sort of one. Those sorts of acts where the player's absolutely going to get weeks. No doubt about it. It's just a matter of how many. That's where they can kind of enact that, I think. Have you noticed how fast the week went? It was only Easter Monday we played, and now it's Anzac Day, and we had a game the day before. Yeah, I know. We only got Tuesday and Wednesday off, and suddenly we're back at it. It's pretty crazy. We can have too much football. I love football, but we can have too much of it. We need some days off to appreciate its absence before it returns again. That's why I'm not crazy about Thursdays and Mondays and those sorts of things. I don't mind the old Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Or bring in one of Thursday and Monday, but scenarios like this, or what we've had recently, is a lot. Where are we? Is Chris Scott trolling the world with his love of the TBC? I mean, Chris Scott is not responsible for the to be confirms on the medical reports. Will Gary Ablett Jr. be elected as the next pope? I hope so. But also, it was really saddening to see the reports come out this week about Levi, where they've finally kind of, I guess, come out and disclosed what the condition is that he has. And, then doing some reading into that condition, the name of which escapes me because it wasn't one I was necessarily familiar with before all this, but it's just awful. And we already knew that the Ablets were finding it really difficult, and it was a struggle, and they loved their son, and it was always going to impact him for life. But to kind of hear about what he's actually contending with, I feel awful for them. And hopefully they can just make a really good life for Levi. Which Geelong player is likely to continue playing beyond 2025? Mitch Duncan, Reece Stanley, Jed Buse, and Cam Guthrie for me. Most likely is Jed Buse. Least likely probably is Mitch Duncan right now. Did Richmond make an error in playing Noah Bolter before his court hearing? Absolutely. It cost them weeks. Sorry, I say most likely because I see Brendan jumping there with Reece. Jed Buse most likely. I would then probably say Reece, Cam Guthrie, Mitch Duncan in that order. They made a horrible lapse in judgment there, and I'm pretty sure the judge took umbrage with the whole thing, and that's what caused the consequence to be what it was. No, you take the piss. Well, fine, we'll take you away from football. I'm a big fan of what she did, actually. Which team am I most impressed with so far? Gold Coast, Adelaide, and Richmond. Well, not Richmond. Congratulations, you've beaten some teams that perhaps you shouldn't have at different points. Manx, that's the one. Thank you, Amy. That's exactly what it was. Sounds awful when I read up on the condition. The team that's impressed me most so far is Gold Coast. And I'm biased. I've been, on that bandwagon for years, but Gold Coast have impressed me most. They did let me down the most also when they lost to Richmond the other day. But yeah. Which team has been the most disappointing? Port, Carlton, or Sydney? What he's suggested, Sydney for me. Because Carlton, you're seeing some faint signs of life. Sydney just don't seem to be putting up much of a fight at the moment. Will North stay the course with Alistair Clarkson if they keep losing? Yes. And have we seen the last of Nat Fyfe after he injured his hamstring in the waffle? I think we're getting very close. This will be Nat Fyfe's final year, but he may get some games in the seniors before the year is out. He just seems to be a bit broken goods these days. There were some Q&A questions for a little bit of extra engagement that Ben's provided, but since I've got to kind of wrap things up, we'll save those for the next show. When I do the Paul James show on Monday, recapping the Sunday game. Of course, we'll have post-game live on Sunday night, so I'll take the day off and come back on Monday for the Paul James show. There's a few questions there. We will save that conversation, those questions for the Sunday show, I think. As well as some little bonus ones that Ben's put together there. We'll hold on to those and have a bit of fun with those during our next show where I can go a little bit longer. Amy says, very smart by the magistrate. I'm all for what she did. It was awesome. Reece Stanley has a very valuable farm. It's a very expensive endeavor. It's been like a 2.5 year build and they had an Instagram account for it. That's how crazy this whole situation was. Kerry says, I met Gary Ablett Sr. in 1985. He came and visited my family in Druin. We were watching World of Sport on TV, and Gary Ablett was watching Mark of the Week award, and he said, oh, shit, I won again. That's awesome. Amy wants Gold Coast to sink to the bottom purely because of Hardwick. I mean, I get it. He's a dick, but I don't mind the team and what they're doing. And he's a good coach, whether we like to admit that or not. But that is where we'll wrap things up for the show tonight. As we outro this one, just to outline the road ahead for us content-wise, post-game live will return on Sunday night at 7 p.m. following Geelong and Carlton. Ethan was our most recent pizza winner for Shannon Pizza. Who's going to get it this week? Make sure you're jumping into the show, utilizing that comment section, or even jumping into the call to chat to Ben. Because we're allocating one a week. The Paul James show will be back on Monday at 8 p.m. as I highlighted before, giving post-game live some time to breathe and the entirety of the round to be complete before we return to it. The match reaction will also go live at 7 a.m. on the Monday there as well. The chaps will do their recap. We've shuffled the time. We're looking at a lot of our analytics and working out what the best time is to get the show out to as many of you as possible, so the most number of you can actually access the show and interact with us as possible. The chaps are bringing their show forward to 6 p.m. on Tuesday as we continue to experiment and work out what is the right fit for all of our content. The tipping point, Wednesday, 5 p.m. You can check that one out. The Paul James show again, Thursday at 8 p.m. That is live. And as I highlighted earlier on in the show, if you've enjoyed what we're creating, please consider utilizing that subscribe button. Check out all of the content that we make here at the Hoops Crew. Like the video, tell your friends and family, share the word. We're putting out a whole lot of stuff and we would love for you to check it out. If you haven't already, consider checking out the Patreon. There's a 7-day free trial there for you. And for a minimum of $5 a month, if you like what you see, once you've tried it out, consider subscribing. $5 a month is all it takes. And there is early access content, extended content, and exclusives there for you to enjoy. Thank you once again to our sponsor, Cyril Cook Florist. To all of you for having commented tonight. A massive shout out again to you, Kerry, for that incredible super chat donation before. We really, really appreciate it. Jackie says that we need to get to 50 to get that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pajamas. Hand on heart, I will do it. I'll commit to that, but 50 patrons is what it's going to take. And hopefully along the way we get those 2,000 subs on YouTube as well. But that is a That's that. I won't put the two of them together. I'll just focus on one thing. And Jackie drops a few turtles in there to kind of lean into it. This has become a thing, and it's crazy to me it's become such a thing. But I'm happy to have a bit of fun with you guys because you're awesome. Thank you to you all. You're a wonderful community. I love to get to hear from you. Make sure you continue to share those thoughts. If you're watching this show afterwards, thank you all for having checked it out. And I just forgot, though, before we wrap up, Game of the Week. I just mentioned Ghost of Yotai before, and it slipped my mind. And you better believe, me being the video game person that I am, that I'm going to show it off. Now, you may not necessarily be a gamer, but please check this out because it is a visual stunner, if nothing else. I'm an idiot. I forgot. Let's check out Ghost of Yotai here.
Unreal. A wandering spirit seeking vengeance.
Who are you? I thought we killed your whole family.
The snake. The Oni. The Kitsune. The spider. The dragon. Lord Saito.
What are we going to do with this one, Saito? I'm sorry. It came to this, little wolf.
Situ Rainu. Why do you always call me that? It means one who is easily lost in the hunt. I have to go home. Back where all this started.
All right, that is Ghost of Yotai. This is absolutely now my most anticipated game of the year. I knew it was going to be coming out sometime this year, but for it to suddenly get an October 2nd release date is huge. And GTA won't be coming out quite near that one, I suspect. So I expect that to be November for what it's worth. But anyway, that is, as Jackie says, the graphics are very impressive. It's a gorgeous looking game, and those cinematics, that's pretty much how it looks in game as well, as people saw with that tiny little 5 seconds of stuff at the very end. thank you, as I said, everyone, for having checked out the show tonight, for sticking around these extra couple minutes at the end for the game of the week as well. Very much appreciate it. As we sign off, we'll double check those scores for the Fremantle and Adelaide game. Freo currently lead by 20 points. That is good news for us in terms of ladder positioning. Has gotten out to as more significant margin. Adelaide's kicked a couple goals recently, but it looks like it's been in the 30s for a while there too. So good news for the Cats if the Dockers get the win here. Thank you, everyone, again, for having tuned into the show tonight. Very, very much appreciate it. Looking forward to doing it all again on Monday night, hopefully celebrating a Geelong win. I might even try and pop in a little bit as well for post-game live on Sunday. We'll see how that works out. But as always, thank you all. Remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you later.